Good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Shruti Tyagi from Batch A, XIME Kochi, and I extend a warm welcome to each and everyone present here. This webinar is indeed a special one, as today we have among us the students and faculty members from all the three campuses of XIME. Before we begin the event, I would like to introduce to you all our esteemed speaker of the day, Dr. Lilly Sanathanan. Dr. Lilly has a long list of credits and awards to her name, a BSc in Mathematics, Statistics and Economics, and an MSc in Statistics from University of Mysore, Karnataka. She completed her PhD in Statistics from University of Chicago, Illinois, USA. Before beginning with her illustrious career in pharmaceutical industry, she was an associate professor of quantitative methods at University of Illinois. She has worked with various pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline and held leadership position in FDA USA. She set up and managed the Institute in Bangalore, which aims at providing management and statistical analysis services to pharmaceutical companies. She even works as an independent statistical consultant for pharmaceutical companies. She has earned various accolades like first rank in the university for the MSc degree, University of Mysore, and she is a gold medalist and a rank holder in English from the University of Mysore. She has been a member of reputed bodies like Waldweiler Society, Abbott Laboratories, Editorial Board of Clinical Trials and Meta-Analysis, to name a few. Ma'am, it's a sheer honor to have someone with such a rich collection of knowledge and experiences with us today. The topic of today's session is data science and decision making. The talk is going to be for approx 35 minutes, followed by question and answer session. You can put up all your questions as the session progresses. Ma'am, over to you for the session.
Thank you, Shruti, for that glowing introduction. I hope I can live up to your expectations. I would also like to thank Professor Alok and, of course, Professor Ravindranathan, who was instrumental in getting this talk organized. And, of course, many thanks to all of you participants out there. I do look forward to your active participation. Let me start out by asking the fundamental question that is on everyone's mind. What is data science? We are all familiar with traditional fields like computer science, statistics, and business. Well, data science combines computer science, statistics, and domain knowledge into a multidisciplinary field that focuses on extracting useful information from raw data, whether it is structured or unstructured, in order to make optimal decisions. I'm sure you have seen the Venn diagram with three circles labeled computer science, statistics, and domain knowledge. The intersection of these three circles is usually labeled as data science. Actually, I would like to think of data science as the union rather than the intersection of the three circles, to emphasize the fact that data science uses concepts and tools embedded within each of these three circles. In other words, data science goes beyond each of these three circles into a relatively new territory that has emerged because of the vast amount of data that is being collected, advances in information technology and computing, and of course the internet that has enabled information sharing to a large extent. Data science is basically the science of extracting useful patterns from data sets using statistical modeling and computer power. The best way to understand what data science is all about is to look at some of the data science applications in various domains. I will start with healthcare, which is what I'm most familiar with. There is a vast amount of data that is now available on electronic medical records and clinical databases. These data have enabled medical professionals with support from data scientists to find new ways to diagnose diseases better and faster and to explore new treatment options that are more optimal. AI techniques are also being developed to predict, combat, and understand pandemics such as COVID-19 that's raging all across the globe right now. Epidemiological modeling has been around for tracking these epidemics and for making short-term predictions, but tools for identifying patterns, predicting potential pandemics, and preventing them, hopefully, have yet to be developed. Now, that's an area you guys can get into with your expertise in business and computers, etc. That would be a real life-saving activity. Of course, data management and statistical analysis of clinical data have been around for a very long time because of regulatory requirements to get a new drug or vaccine approved by the FDA or another regulatory agency like the Drug Controller of India. I've spent a good part of my career engaged in designing clinical trials and in the processing and analysis of data collected from these trials. I've also worked for the FDA and reviewed these data submissions. The questions that need to be answered in this context would be as follows. First, what is the most cost-effective way to design the trial for showing that the drug or vaccine is efficacious and safe? Secondly, what is the required sample size? And thirdly, what are appropriate ways of analyzing the data? The answers to these questions would be included in a document titled Statistical Analysis Plan, which is typically prepared by a statistician prior to the trial. This is in addition to the protocol for conducting the trial to be prepared by the medical team with statistical input. So you can already see that this situation calls for a multidisciplinary effort. I've only talked about medical and statistical input so far. Beyond that, we need programming effort to set up the database and crunch the data efficiently in order to yield meaningful results. Fortunately for the clinical trial scenario, we have a very sophisticated state-of-the-art package, namely Statistical Analysis Systems or SAS, to do the number crunching. Clinical trial teams typically consist of medical experts, statisticians, data managers, and SAS programmers. While each team member is an expert in his or her field, it is necessary to step out of one's comfort zone and acquire some minimal knowledge of all the other aspects involved in the trial. For instance, the statistician needs to familiarize himself or herself with the salient medical aspects of the trial to be able to provide relevant statistical input. Statisticians are typically conversant with programming, at least enough to be able to communicate with programmers and also to try different modeling approaches on the data before choosing the most appropriate model. Other health applications involve big data, meaning a large volume of data with some unstructured data coming out of the electronic medical records. These data will require more software or computer expertise to transform the data and make it more analyzable. Also, a lot of the analysis needs to be automated and updated as more and more data becomes available. The sheer volume, velocity, and variety of data are staggering. In terms of volume, organizations collect data from a variety of sources, including business transactions, smart IoT devices, industrial equipment, videos, audios, social media, and so forth. In the past, storing it would have been a big problem, but cheaper storage on platforms like data lakes and Hadoop have definitely eased the burden. In terms of velocity, with the growth in the Internet of Things, IoT, data is streaming in to businesses at an unprecedented speed and must be handled in a timely manner. Sensors and smart meters are driving the need to deal with these torrents of data in real time. In terms of variety, data comes in all types of formats, from structured numeric data in traditional databases to unstructured text documents, emails, videos, audios, stock ticker data, and financial transactions. Now let us move on to another application area, namely autonomous or self-driving cars. Companies like Tesla, Ford, and Volkswagen use predictive analytics on their autonomous vehicles. These cars are fitted with thousands of tiny cameras and sensors to relay information in real time. Using AI or machine learning, predictive models, and data science, self-driving cars can adjust speed limits, avoid objects and dangerous lane changes, and even take passengers on the quickest route. Machine learning is a method of data analysis that automates analytical model building. It is a branch of artificial intelligence based on the idea that systems can learn from data, identify patterns, and make decisions with minimal human intervention. That is to an extent. Ordinarily, one would start with a model involving certain parameters and fit the model or determine the values of the parameters from the data. For example, in regression analysis or time series analysis. Then we would check to see if the model itself fits the data well, or if we can improve the model to fit the data better while avoiding overfitting. This type of iterative process is automated by AI or machine learning algorithms. Another data science application is in the area of logistics. United Parcel Service, or UPS, uses data science to maximize efficiency both internally and along their delivery routes. The company's on-road integrated optimization and navigation Orion system uses statistical modeling and algorithms that create optimal routes for delivery drivers based on weather, traffic, construction, etc. GPS, which we've all been using for driving, does give us this type of real-time information as well. Amazon and other delivery companies also rely heavily on data science. Uber uses AI algorithms to predict when people are likely to need rides in certain areas and proactively gets drivers on the road before they are even needed. Moving on to entertainment, companies like Netflix use data science to recommend movies, songs, and shows based on analyzing preferences you have displayed. And of course, your preferences could change over time, and therefore it is necessary to update the algorithm to reflect the latest pattern. This is where adaptive modeling comes into play. AI is just a fancy term for adaptive modeling. AI systems work by ingesting large amounts of data, labeled training data, analyzing the data for correlations and patterns, and using these patterns to make predictions about future states. Half of the available data is typically used for fitting models or developing algorithms, and the other half is used for validation. Based on the validation results, the AI algorithms need to be continually fine-tuned to ensure that they provide the most accurate results possible. Now, it's clear that Google is using a lot of AI as well to improve their services to their customers, who are mainly the advertisers. The minute we Google for something, we get lots of ads pertaining to the searched item. In general, AI is used to boost ad revenues. Moving on to the world of finance, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. One of the data science applications is in the area of credit risk analysis. In the old days, when someone applied for a loan, the banker would take a good look at their financial record to decide whether to approve the loan or not to approve the loan. Nowadays, there are sophisticated statistical models that are constantly updated to give a good estimated probability of default, making the whole process a lot faster and more reliable. I know they use logistic regression for assessing creditworthiness. Logistic regression is a type of regression where the dependent variable is a discrete variable, for example, with a 0-1 type of outcome. Financial companies like PayPal use data science to detect and prevent fraud. The last but not the least important area that I'd like to bring up is cybersecurity. Data science is used for detecting malware and improving cybersecurity. That's obviously an extremely important area of application. What are the different processes and steps involved in data science? The first step is data capture from systems and devices. The second step is data preparation and integration, which involves reformatting, transforming, and combining data into a data warehouse. The third step is data processing, which means looking for patterns, ranges, and distribution of values to identify suitable predictive models such as specific regression or time series models. The fourth step is analysis, statistical analysis using predictive models and machine learning algorithms. The fifth and final step is communication. Reports, charts, and other graphic displays are prepared to communicate results to decision makers at every level. What are some of the tools required for data science? I have already talked about SAS, a statistician's primary tool. R and Python are popular with data scientists. They provide machine learning and graphics capabilities in addition to statistical analysis. Now, cloud computing is another very valuable tool in this whole setting. Cloud computing is bringing many data science benefits within reach of even small and mid-sized organizations. Manipulation and analysis of extremely large data sets are now possible with limited resources. Previously, with hardware limitations, there was only so much computing one could do. But now the cloud makes access to computing very affordable. Finally, what are the qualifications required for data science? The ideal qualification might be an undergraduate degree with a major in computer science and a minor in statistics, or vice versa, and an MBA. Besides the knowledge required in statistics and computer science, data science calls for business awareness. No matter how good your algorithms are, they will be perfectly useless if they're not applicable in the domain that you're interested in. Now, I'm not sure that we can find enough people with all these qualifications. Therefore, I would suggest a team approach. The team should ideally consist of a domain knowledge expert with a business degree, one or two software engineers, and a statistician with a good computer background and willingness to learn new techniques and software packages. With that, I would like to conclude my talk and invite questions from all of you. Thank you.
Ma'am, a lot of companies using data science have a process of data cleansing. Don't you think it could hamper the data structure and even a vital part of data could be lost?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in order to do any predictive modeling, you have to sort of summarize the data in some meaningful way. You cannot take the raw data the way it is. That's just unfortunate. Yes, you will be losing some information, but hopefully all the vital information will be saved using these methods that, there are so many statistical and other methods that do summarize data in a very parsimonious way. That's the word, I think, parsimonious in the sense, using, the least amount of data to maximize the information. Let me put it that way. That's the idea of parsimony. Okay. So I hope I've answered your question. Yeah, this is where the expertise of computer science and statistics would be brought in to be able to summarize data. That's a very good question, actually. I mean, how do you, retain the meat of the data, right? The most important part of the data that is useful for predictive modeling. That's what you want to save.
Thank you. Ma'am, the other question, actually, I have one question. So, during pandemic, we saw a lot of data being manipulated and lost. So, what could we as a
Yeah.
related to cloud storage, and what could we as a data scientist do to preserve our data?
Oh, I'm not aware of data getting lost, though. That's news to me. Thanks for that question. But I thought that there was a deluge of data. Okay, I think what you're referring to might be underreporting of deaths and COVID cases and that sort of thing.
Yes,
that could be what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that I don't think there is any statistical or computer tool that can solve that problem. I mean, integrity is part of the business requirement, right? In the business world, you rely on integrity. So, I mean, I can only talk about a specific example, like in Kerala, where I am at the moment. I think, it's difficult to suppress COVID data here. I mean, I was just talking to a friend, or actually a relative, who came down with COVID the other day. She had already been vaccinated with 2 doses, but somehow she caught COVID. And the test, she went for a test and that was a positive result. And she has not been spared since then. She's been getting calls from the police, all sorts of departments, information technology, wherever. In other words, they are tracking everything here in Kerala. So whatever they're reporting, I think has to be pretty accurate statistics. That's how I see it. Now, I can't really say much about the rest of India. I really don't have any first-hand experience. So you might be able to shed some light on that. So, right, assuming that there is data integrity, then all of these tools, data science tools and stuff can be used in terms of combating the epidemic. I mean, for example, looking at the pattern, where the clusters and where should resources be deployed, that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping in the future we can do better. That is, looking at clusters, whether it's in China or wherever it is, one should be able to predict potential pandemics, not wait until it's already there. That's not the way to go. And so then you can avert those disasters. So that I think can be done with AI techniques. Of course, the data has to be dependable. Otherwise, none of this helps. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have next question by Sharm Sharma. There are multiple skill sets required to become a data scientist. Should one look to master all those skill sets, or look at some specific skill sets and master those?
That's a very good question. I mean, to me, it seems you really cannot have all these skill sets in one person. It's very difficult, in my opinion. So, what I would suggest is that you focus on your field of expertise, whether it's business, computer science, or statistics, but get out of your comfort zone a little bit and get knowledge, minimal knowledge about the other areas. So let's say you have a business degree, then you pick up one of these books, or maybe take a course in data science or something, so that you're aware of the possibilities and you can then turn it over to a team. You need to formulate the questions. What is the goal in your company? So those things will have to come from the domain expert, right? I don't think you can expect a computer scientist to know what's needed in a business. So that's the first part. Then the second part is where, the domain expert will also know where is the data coming from, like in the self-driving situation, these sensors and cameras, they're all producing data, right? So you need to know the source of the data. That I think should come from the domain expert as well. And then you turn it over to a computer software engineer and a statistician. Now, a lot of computer scientists have a good statistical background and vice versa. A lot of statisticians also have computer background, but I still think it's necessary to bring both of them together because the statistician might be strong in modeling, but not so much in terms of manipulating the data, whereas the computer scientist does that for a living.
Ma'am, next question we have from Sachin. He asks, when it comes to a dependent and independent variable, we are only focusing on certain aspects of dependent variable while ignoring the variables which might be more related to the variable we are predicting on. Since our objectives might not align to all variables, so how do we ensure maximum efficiency in this aspect? Should we just leave an error factor and go ahead?
Well, I mean, that's one way. That's like copping out, I think, but that's an excellent question. And this is why AI, and machine learning and all of that has really improved the modeling techniques themselves, because you don't have to just be satisfied with features or independent variables that you're familiar with, right? Now, by this data mining technique, right? I mean, there are algorithms that do that. You can get correlations, and maybe some correlations will show up that we were not even aware of. And that's the beauty of all this, techniques that allow you to explore the data and get insights even before you put in the model, and the analytical algorithms and so forth. So that, I think that's an excellent question, and the way to deal with it is to use machine learning algorithms to do data exploration as well prior to model building. Okay, well, thank you so much. I mean, you guys had so many questions. I didn't really anticipate that many, but I'm so glad that it sort of motivated you to ask questions. It kept you engaged. That's great. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. With this, we have come to the end of this enlightening session of our distinguished speaker series. On behalf of our XIME family, I would like to thank our speaker for the day, Dr. Lilly Sanathanan, who honored us with her presence and insightful thoughts. It was indeed a great pleasure having you here, ma'am. I would like to thank our chairman, XIME, Kochi Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, our XIME founder, Professor J. Philip, Dean and Officiating Director, XIME Kochi, Professor Alok Krishna, sir, the directors and deans of XIME Group of Institutions, and all the faculty members who joined us for the session. I would also like to thank our faculty coordinator, Dr. Elizabeth, guiding us throughout, and the team of Inspira for all the work they have put up for the session. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my batchmates and juniors of all the 3 centers who actively participated and joined this session to make it a success. With this, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you and have a great day.